So I ventured out to the warm surrounds of Melbourne's northwestern suburbs, right next to the Melbourne airport, where the smell of aviation fuel and a McDonald's in every corner assailed my nostrils, where terracotta tiles and mission brown houses with V8 holders in the driveway and a roast in the oven stretched as far as the eye could see. To the Essendon training facility, affectionately known as the Hangar, which has a naming rights sponsor, but I'm not contractually obliged to mention them, so fuck you, NEC. To be greeted by a place with no parking, that's right, we had to park on the street. No gated entrance, just a gap in the fence for all to walk through, which on the bright side, we didn't have to pay either. With 3 portaloos acting as a toilet block for the whole entire crowd, and some deck chairs placed under gazebos acting as the players' benches. Yes. I wondered to myself, is this what the VFL was really like back in the day? Was it this raw? Or does the AFL not give a flying fuck about their grassroots clubs and supporters? If you can call the VFL grassroots. Maybe I've been spoiled as a Lions Victorian member by the frequent trips to the Mars Bar in Ballarat and Geelong's ever-changing, never-to-be-finished building site named after a health fund. These are all rhetorical questions, of course, of which there are no answers, and I'm starting to sound like a baby boomer called Karen. So it's time for the intro music and to bring in some younger blood as Al McGovern joins me and we take a look at the Lions' big VFL win against the Bombers on Saturday and review the club's recruiting and drafting during Chris Fagan's tenure. All right, well, I guess here we are.
Yeah, it's actually, not too bad of a weekend. VFL did pretty well.
The AFL didn't lose.
No, technically not a loss. Not a win, but not a loss. That's the important thing.
And Richmond and Collingwood both lost.
Yeah, I do like to see that.
And Carlton didn't win either, so...
And Essendon didn't win. The 4 that I didn't want to win didn't win.
Yeah, I don't think Essendon were going to win anyway, even if they did apparently cheat with a few weird out-of-bounds decisions. But
didn't actually watch the game, but I did see that there was Toby Green that said something after the game, or
no, Tom Papley.
It was Papley. Oh, that was the Swans game.
Yeah.
He was something. Yeah, he was having a go at the oppo coach or something like that.
Yeah, I think he said something about Essendon not being tough when it counted, but trying to be too tough when it didn't count or something. I don't know. I wasn't really paying attention.
And it was probably taken. I didn't see him say it, but it was probably taken slightly out of context and blown up way out of proportion, like it always is.
Yeah, and I noticed, because I didn't really, I sort of saw it in the background, but didn't pay much attention. But then I went down to watch a game of cricket today, and there was a few blokes talking about it, carrying on and going like, he's a knob. Look how he acted the day before the 23 grand final, or 22, whatever year it was, grand final. And then his team got pumped the next day, rah. Like, oh, come on. You whinge when these blokes are robots, and then you whinge even more when they're not robots. Just get over it.
Yep. Yeah, but that's pretty normal, though. You always see that. There's always those two sides.
Yeah, look, I don't mind.
Where do you sit on it?
Yeah, look, I like it. I like guys to come out and be honest.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're old enough, but back in the early, you wouldn't be, because it was about 2005 or something. Back when Richmond were terrible, and one of the Bulldogs players came out and said, it looked like they gave up in this game. And they did. And he got absolutely roasted for weeks over, and he ended up getting sanctioned by his club. And I was like, just let the boys be honest.
Yeah.
You guys,
Yeah, I hate like the robotic pre-scripted stuff. I can't stand it.
Like
The
everything Nick
sometimes
Dacos
it,
says.
yeah, it's just like even watching like our club, when the boys get put up for a press conference and it's so well rehearsed and trained. It's like it's not you're not going to get any new information. So what's the point of listening to it?
Yeah, I loved it when Nick Robertson came out before one of the Q clashes and said, "Yeah, we hate him."
Yeah,
And like,
yeah, that was good. And then he got in a lot of trouble for that.
yeah, apparently Fagan pulled him into his office and tore strips off him.
Yep.
I loved it. I mean, I miss Nick Robert. I know he wasn't the best footballer we've ever had,
Mm.
but I miss what he brought to the table with the aggression and the banter, and he used to piss off guys like Buddy and whatever and make them do silly things. So
Yeah, he's a car salesman in Perth now, isn't he, or something like that?
yeah, and he's playing waffle for East Perth, which is my club over there.
Yep.
And yeah, they're sort of doing okay. He actually is the guy who accidentally broke Eagles Premiership player Will Schofield's back and ended his career. Totally accidental.
True. Yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah. So yeah, that's probably not a claim to fame either of those guys want, but what do you do?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So all right. Well, let's talk about the thing we're here to talk about, I guess.
The VFL wrap up.
Yeah. So the VFL. Yeah. Obviously, it went pretty well.
Yeah. So did you actually watch? You were at the game, weren't you?
Yes, I was there. Yeah.
So what are your impressions as someone who was on the field? So I watched at home. Obviously, it was played in Victoria, so I didn't travel down to see it.
Yep.
Obviously, I'm not going to do that for a VFL game. But I watched pretty much all of it. I got a little distracted in the last quarter, just doing kid stuff. But I caught most of it. But you would have seen a lot more being there in person than me. So what are your thoughts?
Look, in the last quarter, I will get to it because a couple of people have sent me messages and said, "Oh, yeah, this is typical. Brisbane can't hold a lead and whatever." I mean, we're nearly 60 points up. Ended up winning by about 30 something.
Mm.
So I'll get to that, but because I've got a pretty good explanation. So
Okay.
Early on, the wind was blowing a gale to Essendon's end.
Mm-hmm.
Like someone mentioned to me, or they asked me, "What's it like wind-wise there?" Because they said, "Oh, it's always windy next to airports." Well, yeah, well, look, it's windy everywhere in Melbourne. I said, but yeah, there was blowing a gale towards the Essendon end, which is where we were sitting at first. I wanted to take a look at Tom Doedee in the first quarter.
Mm-hmm.
And Essendon got a bit of momentum early. They used the wind to their advantage, and our guys sort of struggled a bit kicking for goal. They had a few shots,
Yep.
Or a few inside 50 sort of balls, but the ball was holding up. But then they adapted. They sort of, you could see that they started to figure it out, and they got more physical, and Essendon didn't like it.
Yeah.
Like Essendon had a pretty young team. Well, we had a pretty young team too, but I reckon they
definitely did.
I reckon they had a younger team than us. There's a lot of guys of like number 83, 77, 81, high numbers that clearly they're not AFL listed guys.
Oh yeah, everything over about anything over 50 is a good safe bet that it's not someone on their list.
Yeah, so like and ended up we had like a couple of goal lead, I think, or we were thereabouts quarter time. I can't remember the exact score, but we're up. And then then we got on top for a bit in the second quarter, looked really good. Again, Essendon didn't like the physical side of the game. Old mate Caelan Lane was playing as a key forward, which doesn't suit him at all. I think he's a good tap ruckman around the ground.
Yeah, I don't have much good things to say about Caelan Lane. I'm obviously not going to be mean to him, but I didn't really see him do too much. He looked quite lost on the field from my point of view.
Yeah, as a key forward, he sort of hovers at the back of his defender that he's playing on when they're going for marking contests.
Mm.
And he sort of, even when there's packs forming, you see him sort of floating around near the back thinking, now, do I bust into this pack with my big body, or what do I do here? I'm not used to it.
Mm.
But he did take one good mark sort of in the goal square. I sent you a video of his attempt to kick the goal, which wasn't good.
Yeah, but he did redeem himself in the end. He did end up finishing with a goal.
Yeah. Look, he's not a bad footballer. Don't get me wrong. Like, I think he's got a big upside as a ruckman.
Mm,
He's a massive unit. Like, I don't know if you've seen him in person, but he is
no.
a huge man. Like, you got to think too. We picked him up as a 18 or 19-year-old from Claremont's. I think it was Claremont from their Colts, which is
Yep.
under 19s. He hadn't really. It's like Zane Zakostelski, who we got in the current sort of crop. Hadn't really played a lot of senior footy that I can recall, and definitely hadn't played as a key forward. So look, it's not on him.
Yep.
I think it's on the coaches. I know we got Darcy Fort and Henry Smith, who are obviously ahead of him in line to get in the AFL team if needed.
Much further ahead, I'd say. Yeah.
Yeah, so like they're obviously going to be the first choice ruckman, but we've got to give him a hit in the ruck as well, even if it means he spends time on the bench. I know we didn't have Brendan Ryan either. Now Brendan Ryan can't ruck, but he's a good key forward.
Yeah. So what wasn't he playing? Is he injured or
I have no idea.
I
haven't heard anything about him being injured.
Because he was one that I was looking forward to. I was looking forward to, obviously the draftees.
Yeah.
I was wanting to see how Doedee was going, but Ryan was also one I wanted to keep an eye on, and just wasn't playing. But there was no explanation for why he wasn't playing. It's not on the injury list or anything.
So getting back to Caelan Lane, I don't know anything about Brendan Ryan not playing. I have no answers, unfortunately. Cobb hasn't said anything publicly, so maybe he just had a day off or something. Maybe he had some family stuff to attend to.
Yep.
But yeah, look, Essendon in the first and second quarters, I mentioned it to a couple of people, and two of my two kids that were with me picked up on it as well, that they were sort of getting scores in little short bursts.
Yeah.
Like they'd get 2 goals or 1 goal, 2 or something like that. But that would be it. But then we'd respond. Had Caelan Lane and Luke Lloyd converted 2 comparatively easy goals late in that second quarter, we would have been a fair way up.
Yeah.
But then it didn't matter because third quarter we came out, kicked 9 goals to 2, dominated all over the ground. I remember saying to you, have you seen Jack Payne on the TV? Because I saw him go to the bench at the start of the game and I didn't see him again. He was either at the opposite end to where I was sitting for each quarter or he hadn't come on. Third quarter he was on. We moved around to the other end of the ground next to where the benches were, and if you want to call them benches, deck chairs under a gazebo. Well done, Essendon. You stayed really classy in that regard. And yeah, he took a couple of good grabs inside forward 50. He kicked well. Henry Smith, I'm trying to think who else. Well, yeah, Logan Morris. I want to talk about Logan Morris because he was just unbelievable. He looked like he'd been playing senior footy for a long time.
Yeah, I was. So we drafted 4 guys last year. 3 of them played. One of them was injured. The 3 guys that did play, I thought had fantastic games, particularly Morris and
Lloyd.
His name. Lloyd, Lloyd and Morris. They had fantastic games. And is it Reese?
Reese Torrent, and wearing Reese Matheson's old number, and we drafted him as a backman from memory, but he was playing a lot of midfield time.
Yeah, and he didn't do too bad either for his first game.
Look, to be honest, I thought he played really, really well. I don't know how much of the ball he got. The way Jimmy Tunstill was getting the ball, I don't think it mattered how much anyone else got because he got a lot. And but yeah, look, Logan Morris, he looked big, he looked strong, he asserted himself. He went full alpha male on his opponents that many times. Couple of guys standing next to me in the third quarter were like, surely he comes in for Danaher or Hipwood. And I'm thinking, well, maybe not for those guys, but I reckon he's got to come in, if not this week, really soon.
Look, I think he's going to debut really soon, but it's kind of just a matter of who does he come in for. But, he's not going to come in for Danaher or Hipwood. There's no way they get dropped unless they get injured or suspended.
Yeah. Well, so my son sort of said to me, look, what do you reckon? He's about the 190 mark. He's kind of just bigger than Bailey and about the Rayner size. Is he a chance to replace one of those? And we see a bit of a shake-up. And Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing it for a.
I wouldn't mind seeing it either, but I just can't see Fagan doing it. Fagan doesn't like dropping the players that that he has his favorites.
Yeah. I mean, I really love Zach Bailey. He's one of those guys. I mean, he showed in the grand final that you can't not have him in the team.
Yeah,
He does those mercurial things at those moments that we really need him to. Like those couple of goals he kicked right in front of me in the grand final. I couldn't believe it.
Oh yeah, I mean, and he can, and it's the same with Rayner. They can both do
Yeah,
incredible things. They always got to
yeah.
try and have him in the team, but
But I mean,
man,
if Morris is coming into the team, I think they're the guys because McCarthy and Chuck play different roles.
yeah.
Um,
So I just looked up some stats on Morris actually because I
yeah.
wasn't sure, his dimensions and stuff. He's about 10 centimeters taller than Bailey and Rayner.
Oh, really? So is he what
Yeah,
in the mid 190s? Is he?
he's 191,
Oh,
which
191.
is
Yes.
which is way taller than I thought he was.
Well, Rainer's about just under that, I think.
I think he's 186. I just saw. I might be
Yeah.
wrong on that. Let me just double check.
Oh,
He's at least 10 centimeters taller than. Yeah, he's one. Rayner's down as 186,
okay.
so he's a fair bit taller than him, and
Yeah.
even more taller than Bailey because Bailey is 182. So
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
even taller than Bailey.
Yeah. Well, Bailey's sort of about an inch or two taller than me. So,
Mm.
um, yeah. But like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, obviously, you're not going to bring in a 191 guy for a 203, 204 guy. Let's face it.
No, no way. No, there's no way he can replace those two because he's
Yeah.
not meant to be a key forward, but
Yeah.
he's a bit more of a. I wouldn't say he's a midfielder either, but he's a kind of a utility forward kind of
Yeah. They called him a hybrid forward on draft night. I don't even know.
hybrid. Yeah,
I don't know what that means. Does that mean that he's a hybrid with another position, or is he?
I think it
Uh,
just means that he's not a key forward and he's not a small forward, but he doesn't play
yeah,
mid.
yeah, that could be what it is. But look, he was really impressive. Luke Lloyd as well was really good.
Mm, yep,
He does. Look, he's probably about the same height, I reckon, but he doesn't have the physical presence yet. But
had some
yeah,
good skills though.
yeah. Look, his skills are good. His kicking for goal was okay. It wasn't great, but it was okay. Um, but yeah, like I actually spoke to him after the game. He was blown away. He saw these three people walking towards him. He's like, "Oh, what do they want? I've never experienced this before." And I was like, "Do you mind if the kids grab a photo with you because we haven't met you before?" And he's like, "Oh, this has never happened before."
Were you all decked out in Lions gear?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I had a Lions polo and the kids had scarves and hats
Yeah,
on or
good
whatever.
stuff.
But but like, yeah, obviously we weren't Essendon fans.
No,
It's pretty clear. And we'd already sort of been hanging around talking to Jack Payne and Tom Doedee for, a good sort of 5-6 minutes each before that. So,
yep,
he would have known that we were Lions people. But really lovely guy. Like, so appreciative of everyone coming down to watch.
yeah.
All the boys who spoke to they couldn't believe it. They're like, we had no idea that this many people were going to come and watch us down here in Victoria. And I'm like, well, have a look around. There's a lot of Fitzroy gear on people.
Yep.
But also there's a lot of really young supporters here who just love footy.
Yep.
I reckon, look, I don't know, there's probably 1,000 to 1,500 people there, approximately. Obviously,
Between both supporter groups.
yeah,
Yeah.
I reckon we just shaded Essendon by maybe 50 people.
Yeah. Okay. All
Um, and yeah, obviously there was the families as well, of which we would have had more family people there because they don't get to see their sons as often as the Essendon people would.
Yep.
But yeah, look, the crowd support was good, and the older boys like Jack Payne had a really good long chat with him about the Freo game, and he's hopeful he gets back in next week.
Yep.
I did ask him the question. I said, you're back in next week, and he goes, "Oh, look, I'm hoping I am. It's not up to me though."
Yeah.
Doedee said that he got through the game with no pain,
That's good.
and that his whole entire body felt good. He didn't need, too much work, and he got a little bit of a rub down on the bench in the last quarter, but not as much as some of the other guys. So that's a good sign.
That's very good.
He speaks so well. Like, I was just standing there, like, I'm like, I knew this kid as a junior, sort of, not really, but sort of. And as an adult, like man crush activated here. He's just like so like well spoken. His demeanor was perfect. He said the boys are looking after him up north. He just said he's loving it. He's loving the weather up there. I said something about Connor McKenna to him, and his eyes lit up, and he goes, "Oh, he's such a good guy," which made my day because I love Kenny.
Yep.
Yeah, and like I actually couldn't believe it. The kids said to me afterwards that was the first time we've ever spoken to Henry Smith because he was drafted during the COVID period, so we didn't get any family days.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, when they've had other things on, we haven't seen him. Or a couple of times after VFL games, he's been getting a rub down or doing a bit of work with Hutto afterwards. So we hadn't really got a chance to speak to him.
Yeah, there was a few times last year as well. I noticed watching VFL games that he just wasn't like he didn't play, but he wasn't on the injury list. He just disappeared for chunks of the season. I'm not sure what's going on there.
Might have kept him on standby because like we don't know what's going on behind closed doors, and we know guys play with injuries, they train with injuries, and when Big O's doing the whole work on his own, you don't know. Like they could have guys on standby, and it's possible that they've just said to him, look, take a week off. Or he could have been sore himself and they've just said, look, we know you're not injured, but you're not feeling good. Just have a rest. He's a long way away from his family as well. And, like I noticed after the game, he didn't have any family sort of standing around him, just a couple of our old academy boys who had moved down to Victoria to play footy. So, maybe he was just visiting family those weeks. Yeah,
I guess you never know. But in the club's not usually, they don't broadcast things like that most of the time, frustratingly.
No, but apparently the AFL bring in new rules that they have to be more transparent about that stuff now.
Good.
And they have to do like the NFL where they have to say what round they're due back. Now, I haven't even looked at the injury list. I've only a couple of times you've sent me a message and said, oh, this guy's out and that guy's coming back soon. So I rely on you for that information. So if you do see
I try and keep up with it as much as I can.
Yeah. So if you do see it and it says like, X player is back at round 4 or whatever, point it out to me because I wouldn't mind keeping an eye on that myself.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Ours is a bit more accurate than say, like I know Geelong got a big flogging because it was like they weren't giving estimates, they were just giving short-term, medium-term, long-term.
Yeah.
And they got a bit of a flogging from the AFL, I think, from that. And that's what started this whole transparency for injury lists sort of thing. Because ours was annoying in the sense that it was a lot of, TBA.
Yeah.
A guy was on TBA for like a month, and it's like, well, is he coming back next week or is he not good enough? Like, I don't know if you can be touch and go for a month.
We had that. There was a particular player recently in the last couple of years we had that. Look, maybe it was Marcus Adams. I'm not sure, but I remember Jack Payne's first year at the club. They had him down as that for a long time, and then eventually they bit the bullet and said, "Look, he's got problems with his shins. We're going to put him on the long-term injury list." And that's how Matty Eagles got his debut, if I recall. But we'll talk about Matty a bit later too in our draft review. So,
sure.
but look. So now I'll get back to what I was going to say about the last quarter. So basically, what happened? I reckon it was about probably the 14-minute mark of the last quarter.
Yep.
The message was going out with the runner and even any player that was nearby to the bench at any particular time. The message was tempo footy constantly. Now, in AFL terms, that's just basically control the ball, run down the clock.
Yep.
Now, they started to pull guys off, give them rub downs. Shadow Brain, who was on fire, got a little corky. He was off for a bit. Jimmy Tunstill came off and on a couple of times, had a bit of a rest. There was another player.
Was Shadow Brain on fire? It looked like he was doing pretty good.
Oh, yeah, he was. It's one of those things. It's not the possessions that because he's playing across half back, but he was drifting up into the mids as well. Like he's got a pretty big body.
Yeah.
his impact in the contest, halving contests. He took a few really good intercept marks. And yeah, like he really asserted himself. I was really impressed with him.
Yep.
And it was more like, I guess he was sort of being that bigger boy down back with some of the younger guys to sort of throw his body around. But as well, like I said, he was intercepting the ball. He repelled a few sort of attacking moves that Essendon were trying to make. I thought he played really well. And I looked back at the stats later, and it was like maybe 16 or something like that. But that would have been 16 of the best I've seen in VFL games for a while.
Yep.
And like I thought Prizzy, Jackson Pryor did really well as well. I thought he was really ultra aggressive.
Yeah, he was another one that probably didn't translate on screen as much.
Yeah, and that's the thing, you don't like. You and I have these conversations with each other and other people all the time where if we're watching at different venues, different formats, we see different things.
Yes.
Like Prizzy early on in the first quarter, he was playing sort of around halfback. He was getting the ball out of that area a lot. But then he sort of started moving around all over the ground. He got into a few fights, which I loved, because like he doesn't back down. He didn't care. He took blokes on. And there was one bloke, number 83 for Essendon, and I don't even know who he was, but he's trying to get in Prizzy's face in the last quarter, and Prizzy's just kind of gone to him, mate, you should be playing in Essendon Districts Football League, not Essendon Football Club. I thought
he was having a beef with was that Caddy's brother?
No idea who it was, and
because Caddy from Richmond, his brother was on their VFL list.
Yeah, that's Nate Caddy. Yeah, no, that wouldn't have been him. No, but he did play. I did see his name on the stats list.
Yeah, he was definitely playing for them. I think he kicked Essendon's first goal, maybe.
Nah, that was Jaden Davey.
Okay, there's a few blonde-headed guys that look very similar on their list.
No, Jaden Davies, an Aboriginal player. He's Alwyn Davies' second son.
Oh, that's right, and he ran out and kicked that goal.
He is super quick. Like
that's right. He's one of the twins.
Yeah, and Doedee was playing on him early and just couldn't run with him, and they sort of made a couple of changes. I think. Who did they put on him later that did pretty well against him? I can't remember, but look,
I don't know, but his impact fell off the later the game went.
Yeah,
so it worked.
Look, I think there's 2 or 3 Indigenous boys played for Essendon who in bursts were really good, but in bursts, and whether that's coaching or whatever, I don't know, or they're still adjusting. I mean, it was really windy. It wasn't that cold or anything, but but I noticed their ruckman, Nick, he's on their AFL list, number 24, mouthing off the umpires a lot, sort of acting like the tough guy, but he couldn't
cope. Get him in the team.
Yeah, he couldn't cope with the physical size of our guys. Like Darcy Fort monstered him in contests. Smith and Lane were much bigger than him and made him look small. Nick Bryan, maybe? I don't know. I mean, hey, just let him play every week, especially against our AFL team, because Big O will destroy him.
Exactly.
Yeah, but look, Jimmy Tunstill I've touched on. He was unreal. One moment for Jimmy, he had the ball just outside the 50 in the last quarter, third quarter maybe? Yeah, third quarter. And he swung around looking to handball it off, and there was no option open. So he swung back the other way and just rocked onto his right, and he's pinged it from outside 50.
Yeah.
And as his foot made contact, I turned around to the bloke next to me and said, "Nah, that's gonna drop short," because he was kicking against the wind as well.
Yep.
And sailed through. Like, the guy's on a high. He's super confident. He's an
interesting one, because I remember telling you last week, as we were talking about the leading into this game, that he was one of the guys I wanted to keep an eye on.
Yeah,
and he had a really rusty first 4 or 5 minutes or something, really short into the quarter. But I just remember thinking oh no, I put my money on the wrong horse, then he just had he just came out after that and just was amazing for the whole rest of the game. But he had a really rusty first couple of minutes. He was falling over a lot, and he was not kicking and.
Yeah, there's a reason for that too. So I was having a kick on the ground sort of before we went home with the kids, and I fell over about 3 times because the surface is absolute garbage.
Oh, okay.
For a pretty new facility, and that oval's meant to be replicating the MCG in dimensions and surface quality, it was crap. There were divots everywhere. I'm surprised there weren't more knee injuries done. You just like every time you go to kick the ball, you'd slide. It was like you're on that temporary grass stuff on a nature strip with mud underneath it. It was garbage.
Ugh. Yeah, but he came back after that and he was excellent the whole game. Absolutely busting the door down for selection.
Yeah, look, I think with Loman's injury, so as I said to you on Saturday, I didn't speak to him after the game. I sort of thought it's probably not the thing to do when he's with his family, who he needs more than a couple of supporters at the moment.
Yep.
But I did hear from someone really late last night who said that someone they know spoke to his dad, so a mate of a mate of a mate of a mate, spoke to his dad, and they said it was just knee bruising and precautionary.
Yep.
But yeah, look, he tried to come back on, as we all know. It
didn't look good.
No, he was limping around, had the big compression bandage on.
Hopefully we get an update either. Well, probably won't be tomorrow, probably be Tuesday.
Yeah, look, and like this will go to air on Monday, so if they do bring out something on Monday, I can slip it in somewhere along the line. But look, I don't think he plays against Collingwood, so there's an opening.
Oh no way.
There's an opening for Tunstill, and I would assume Neil comes back, so maybe Lyons goes out for Neil. And look, yeah, they'll probably, if Tunstill does come in, they'll probably make him the sub. But do
you think they'll swing the axe and drop anyone, or do you think it's just going to be necessity injury replacements?
Look, I think maybe Lyons, because look, Neil and Lyons are basically playing the same role. Neil gives us more defensively and more accountability.
Yeah.
Attacking wise, look, Lyons can hold his own as an attacking midfielder.
Yeah,
I think we all agree on that.
Yeah, but I think even if like Lyons had the best game of his career, I think he would still make way for Neil.
Yeah, because I mean, there's really like who are the other inside mids? I mean, Dunkley's not going to come out.
No, McCluggage isn't going to come out.
Yeah, Berry's. Well, I mean, where does Berry even play these days? I mean, I don't think even he knows. And I think that him and Rayner, actually, I know we've been a little bit critical of them, but the fact that they don't know what their role is at the moment, by the looks of it, they have these confused looks on their faces a lot.
Yep.
But anyway, yeah. So, and just out of the VFL team, and to answer your question, obviously, I think Lyons comes out for Neil. Loman misses due to his knee. Tunstall is my pick to come in for him.
Yep.
Then we've got Gardner and McKenna injured. So
yeah.
I told Shadow Brain I'm going to have my fingers and toes crossed for him all week.
Yep.
Well,
the obvious one's Doedee for Gardner.
Yeah, I would look. Doedee's good, but he needs to run. I think.
Yep.
He looked a couple of yards short on Saturday. As much as he played well in what he did, he's limited time on the ground. I would probably wait another week, and I've been proven right on this every time I said it this year. So I don't often get things right, but I've got that right this year. But so yeah, look, Shadow Brain could come in for one of the guys, and maybe Doedee if they think he's up to it. Short turnaround though. If not Doedee, maybe Pryor. I thought he played really well.
I don't know if Pryor would be up there for mine.
Or maybe we send Zorko to halfback.
We could do that, and then we'd have to bring. Well, you could bring Tunstill into the main team that way then.
Yeah, and maybe Harry Sharp. Like,
Sharp as the sub.
Yeah, like he was noticeable at times, but he actually got a lot more of the ball than what I thought. But yeah, look, he looked okay. And
my only critique with Sharp is that he's been given a lot of opportunities over the years, and he's never just come in and gone, "Yep, this is my chance. I don't want to go back to the VFL. I want, just take advantage of it and just have a smashing game." He's always just okay or not that great when he comes in.
But there's a bit to be said here about Sharp and probably Rayner to the extent they're both late babies. Like they were both 17 when they.
I thought you were going to say they're both runners, and I was going to say no way, Rayner.
Rayner's not a runner, mate.
No way.
If like me in my younger day, there was a 20-meter sprint at the Olympics, I reckon Rayner and I probably would have been competing at that. But yeah, no, maybe 10 meters.
Maybe 2 meters so that you can trip over and you can reach over the finish line.
But yeah, no, look, they're both because they were both 17 when they were drafted.
Yeah. Turned
18 sort of late in the year. I think Sharp early the next year, maybe. He was still in year 11 when he got drafted. So
yes. He debuted on the weekend and had to go to school like the next day or something like that.
Yeah. And let's face it, kids today are not as grown up as they were physically. They might be physically taller or whatever, but it's not like guys like Dustin Fletcher or Michael Voss who were already like men-sized guys and were playing against men all the time before they went into their AFL teams. Like guys now, 17-year-olds now, like junior football, for example, it's all about not having guys getting monstered by bigger guys all the time.
Yep.
So, yeah, maybe these guys who are a little bit younger, later bloomers. I mean, Jesse Hogan took a while before Melbourne gave him a debut because he was 17 when he was drafted as well. So,
yep.
Bit to be said about that. But, yeah, look, getting back to the team because, I like to ramble on a bit. Yeah, I think the changes we're going to make, I think they're all out of necessity except for Neil coming back in, and I think Lyons goes out for him.
I think Lyons goes out for Neil. Gardner goes out, and I would bring. I'd probably bring Payne back in. Yeah, give Tunstill. I would give Doedee a little bit more time.
Yeah. Payne has to come back in. Like, then again, who have Collingwood got? That's a big forward. Really, no one have they?
Not big because you got Myercheck. I guess Cox goes forward sometimes. No, they haven't really got many. I mean, they got McStay.
Yeah, he's not playing, but
he did a knee, didn't he?
Yeah, and Ash Johnson.
He's not very tall.
No, but he is also not very good.
Yeah.
You know what? She's going to bite me on the arse now. He'll come out and kick six against us.
Yeah. Yeah, good one.
Happens to me every time. So I tell you, I get it wrong most of the time. But look, Jack sort of was hopeful that he would get back in. He sort of said something about going to Freo that it was more about speed, but also about the long travel. He brought up. I kind of accidentally interrupted him when he was telling me about the long travel might have been an issue for him.
Yeah.
But yeah, like we had a good chat too about how the media are going to, talk Collingwood into winning this week. And,
well, someone's got to break their streak, and someone's got to go 0-4. Well, 0.
Yeah, he goes. It's going to be a pretty interesting game with two winless sides. But he's like, oh well, the media will just talk Collingwood into winning one day. And I said, well, that's up to you guys to make sure that doesn't happen.
Yeah. All right. So my final selections, my prediction is we're getting Lyons out, Neil in. We're getting Lohman out. We're getting Tunstill in.
Yep.
We're getting Gardner out. We're getting Payne in.
Yep.
And then I would shift Zorko back to cover McKenna.
Yep.
And then I would bring Tunstill in for Zorko's position.
Yeah. No issue with any of that.
I think Tunstill has to come in.
Yep.
Who comes out for him? I guess that's a bit more up for debate.
Yeah.
But he got over 30 and he got kicked 2. So
yeah, and
he's smashing the door down.
Yeah, and there was another guy who got a lot of fantasy points for us. That's weird that they have fantasy points in the VFL.
Yeah, that is weird.
but didn't get much of the ball. But I noticed he had about 11 or so tackles. I don't know if I can't remember who it was, but he's probably not on our AFL list. So I don't even know why I'm bringing it up. But anyway.
And if we wanted to give a morale boost, we could put a debutant in as well, I guess.
Yeah.
Morris debut.
Morris, yeah. Even just put him in the emergencies. I think Answorth stays in as well from the last game.
Yeah, I think he did enough. I'd be disappointed if he was made the scapegoat when I don't think he was one of the ones that caused some of the problems.
Yeah, and quite often we do, and it's not us specifically, it's the AFL teams.
Mhm.
A lot of them do pick out one guy as a scapegoat, and it's usually a guy that wasn't that bad.
Yeah, that's right.
Um,
Well, it's the same with us. We always have guys who probably need to get dropped, don't, and then we get guys that they probably deserved another week, but they just get thrown straight back out of the team.
yeah,
It's a little bit of the last in, first out kind of deal.
yeah. That's the Australian way. Let's face it.
Yeah.
I'm just looking over my shoulder at the Eagles and Giants game. Eagles are competitive early, but geez, they've dropped off.
Yeah, quite a lot.
And I noticed our old mate Alex Witherden got dropped this week, which is I wouldn't have been dropping a mature-bodied guy if I was Adam Simpson.
No, they're screaming out for guys like that.
But that's the scapegoat factor, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah, it's like he got dropped after we lost that final against the Giants in 2019 because
was that Brent Daniels' goal?
Yeah, because of that one goal.
Yeah, look, I must admit, I really liked Witherden, but I was furious at him for that.
Oh, yeah, but you know what? Like Josh Kelly threw the ball to Daniels anyway, so
true.
But anyway, I mean,
that's old wounds, mate. They've started to heal for me. Let's not reopen those stitches. Should we go through I want to touch on our VFL list.
Yeah, go for it.
Because there's a lot of interesting stories there.
Yes.
That some of them people have picked up on, some of them they haven't.
Yes,
so we've got
I'm one of those second group of people.
Yeah, so there's a lot of guys in there that we already knew.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of names that I'm still not familiar with, but I just assume are academy guys and maybe local quaffle guys that got given a chance to play for a little bit extra money or whatnot.
Yeah.
But there's some really interesting names in here. So we touched on the brothers before. So a few of the guys in the senior team, their brothers seem to have tagged along and have joined the VFL team. I'm not sure if that was part of contract negotiation or if that was just that's a nice thing we'll do for you, or if they truly go, oh, he's a great player, I really want him. But because there's so many, I'm tending to think it was probably the former instead of the latter, because we've got the likes of Kyle Dunkley, who I think actually played pretty well.
Yeah.
So obviously brother of Josh Dunkley. Then we've got Jake Lohman, brother of Kai Lohman, who he wasn't too bad.
Yeah, he did okay on the weekend. Right. Yeah.
And then also Cam Rayner's brother, Lockie Rayner, who wasn't playing on the weekend, but is listed as one of our VFL players for the year.
Yeah, apparently he was our runner over at Freo the other week.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, I don't recall because there was a lot of talk about where's Grant Birchall, and then
I was going to say he was our runner for a while, wasn't he?
Yeah, someone piped up and said, "Oh, it was Lockie Rayner at Freo," so maybe. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, but there's even more names than that. So those are the only brothers that we have on the list at the moment.
Yep. I just want, before you go on to the rest, I just want to say Kyle Dunkley. He actually was he drafted by Melbourne at one stage?
Yes, he was a previous AFL listed player. So he played for Melbourne for I think a couple of seasons, and then he was delisted.
And then something happened with his dad and Melbourne. They had a bit of a blue or something.
Not sure what's going on there.
Yeah, maybe the news didn't make it that far north, but
maybe.
Yeah. Anyway, so let's go on.
Yeah, but then obviously, so there's Daryl McDowell White, who was on our list last year as a Cat B rookie who was delisted. He's now listed as an official VFL player.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
Yeah, I did notice it and I thought that was quite interesting.
I don't think he played on the weekend, though.
No.
He's officially on the VFL list, so he can play VFL games for us.
Yeah.
And there's Will Martin, who is a former academy guy who was drafted by
Richmond.
And then he was delisted after, I think, maybe 2 or 3 seasons.
He was picked up in that draft where Richmond got Noah Cumberland as well.
That's right. They got taken together.
I think they were trying to give us a little finger in the eye because we outbid them on Eric Hipwood a couple of years earlier.
Mm-hmm.
I like conspiracy theory, so I'll stick with it.
Mate, me too. But so he lasted a couple of seasons there and then has been delisted and obviously has come back home.
Yeah.
And we've given him a VFL rookie, well, not even a rookie chance, just a VFL list shot. So that's interesting. I don't recall seeing him on the weekend either.
He had 11 disposals. I've got this in front of me. 64 ranking points and 5 tackles.
Okay.
Now, I reckon he played down back.
All right.
Like I'm just thinking number 55. I'm pretty sure he was down back.
So some of these here have pictures next to them, and some of them don't. The ones that don't have pictures, they don't have a jumper number. And Will Martin's one of the ones that doesn't have a jumper number.
Yeah,
so
well, I've got
to track.
Yeah, I've got it like the player stats from the game in front of me. So
and the other one that's kind of interesting is Joel Butterick, brother of Connor Butterick from the Suns.
Yes, who is a very good footballer.
Yes.
And
also, he's a medium-sized defender for them, I believe. Drafted a few years ago.
And we do love a medium-sized defender.
Yeah. So you and I were talking about this earlier, and we got our little conspiracy brains going a little bit, and we were wondering if maybe this was an attempt to maybe lure Connor, maybe even this year or maybe a bit down the line. I'm not sure what his contract status is.
Yeah. Alicia would have come in handy had she been able to join us tonight.
Yeah. Yes, definitely. But it wouldn't be the first time we've done something like that because we've had, we got Clay Beams and then we got Dane Beams not long after. We got Corey Lyons and then we got Jared Lyons not long after.
Yeah.
We were desperately trying to get Charlie Cameron's brother to the club, but West Coast kind of knocked that around.
We've got Tom Berry, who's now apparently better than Jared, according to Gold Coast supporters.
Of course, yeah. So we do love getting brothers to the club in some way or fashion. So, I do wonder if there's some kind of long-term play there for Connor Butterick from the Suns.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised. And I noticed he played this weekend as well. So I think you said to me the other day he'd done an ACL at some point.
Yeah, I think it was last season was his first season back from his ACL. So I think he's not currently injured, I don't believe. It's kind of hard to tell because the AFL app, their biographies and stuff, they take a while to update. Sometimes they forget to update them between seasons.
That's correct.
Which is very frustrating if you're trying to get information on players from other clubs and things like that. But he has done an ACL in the past, but our recruitment team does love getting those kinds of players and fixing them.
It's just like a red rag to a bull for them.
Oh yeah, Steve Canola sees ACL on the sheet and he rubs his hands together.
Oh yeah, he sees any sort of long-term injury. He's like, "Yep, we can fix it. We can fix broken hearts and we can fix broken bones."
Exactly. And then there's a few more names even on top of that are interesting. So everyone listening to this will be aware of the Ashcroft brothers.
Yep.
So Levi, draft eligible this year. Cal Toomey rated him as a top 10 pick for the draft already, and the season hasn't even started, so that's a good sign. He's listed as a VFL player, so he can come up and play some games for our VFL, so that'll be really interesting when that starts happening. And he's also got a friend there named Sam Marshall, who's someone that you and I spoke about last year.
Yeah.
And he's someone to keep an eye on. So he is he's not a father-son, but he is an academy guy, but he is living in Victoria playing in the under-18s for, not sure which club, is Sandringham or?
Yeah, I think Sandringham. So Logan Morris, I think, came from Sandringham as well.
And
maybe Luke Lloyd, maybe?
Potentially. But Sam Marshall is also rated by Toomey as a top 10, potential top 10 pick for this year. So that's looking really good for us for a draft.
Yeah, but we'll be made to work for both those guys, no doubt.
Definitely.
It could be like the Ashcroft Fletcher draft a couple of drafts ago, where we don't really pick up many guys because we're going to use a lot to match bids.
And the last one that I want to mention is there's a guy here by the name of Billy Richardson. Now, I I'm not sure if you remember this, but I mentioned him to you last year, and this is someone that me and my dad have been tracking for since the beginning of last year. So he's a academy guy. He's a ruck forward. He was dominating really early last year, and in his under 16s year, I think. And he was supposed to be draft eligible last year, but he kind of dropped off the radar a little bit. But he is officially a VFL player for us. So that's something that tells me, by the way that the list managers have done things in the past, that's someone that we would potentially be interested in rookieing at some stage.
Yeah,
the type of position that he plays, and they're long-term project players.
Yeah, like a Connor Ballenden or someone like that who plays a lot of reserves for us before sort of getting picked up, because the big guys do take a bit longer.
Yeah, and not to forget as well, like Coleman, so Kitty Coleman, sorry, not Blake Coleman.
Yep.
He was we missed him on his draft year, so we got him the next year afterwards.
Yeah,
I remember that.
Yeah, do you remember what happened? Was it just, did he nominate and not get picked up, or did he just not nominate?
I don't know, but he was supposed to. Well, he was eligible the year before we got him, and neither us nor any other team picked him up. And then the year that after that, so his 19th year, we had to fight another team for him. So
yeah, it's weird. Like some of those things that happen with the academy players and father sons, and there's some weird stuff that goes on.
Yeah, it's all very behind closed doors, kind of shady and stuff like that. But that's the stuff that interests me. So I always love to keep an eye out for that sort of stuff. So I just wanted to mention those names because there's some really interesting stories for about half the players on the list. I mean, even the names I didn't mention. There's so many names here that some of these guys could end up being rookies or fully drafted at the end of the year. You just never know.
Yeah, and that guy I was talking about before he got the 11 tackles, Ewan McPherson, his name is.
Okay. I see his name here.
He's a bit of a Shadow Brain lookalike from a distance. Okay. He looked good, but obviously he's not on our list, so we can't do much with him. But so he's another guy to sort of keep a watch on from our VFL players.
Yep.
A number in the 50s, so he's probably not a Quaffle player. Yep. But I mean, he's got tattoos and a beard, but I mean, Dane Beams had tattoos when he was drafted. So, all right. Well, I guess that'll wrap it up then.
Yeah, I think that's it for now. We'll probably come back in a few days to preview the Collingwood game.
Yeah. So if selection's on Tuesday night, I'm good. Otherwise, you might have to just record something yourself. And
no, Tuesday night's good for me, so that should work.
So if it's on Wednesday night, I can't do it. But I'm assuming it'll be 2 days before the game.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Tuesday night, I'm good for selection. I'm outing myself here. I have 2 functions to go to on Wednesday and Thursday nights, so I'm going to miss probably half of the game on Thursday night.
Oh, bugger.
Now
I'll be watching it all. My dad's actually coming down this week because school holidays next week and Easter and all that sort of stuff. So my dad's driving down from Cairns, so he's going to be watching the game with me and the next few games over the next couple of weeks as well. So that'll be good.
So since the start of 2018, I have missed watching 4 games.
Mm-hmm.
One was the Bulldogs game last year. I watched that later, like the next day.
Yep.
But there's a Richmond final where we won. There was a game in Tassie where we beat Hawthorn. And there was another game that we won. So, it was a game against Richmond, that one where Robbo broke Dustin Martin's ribs.
I don't think I've missed a live senior game for the men since 2016. And that includes me walking around a Melbourne Zoo on a holiday, watching on my phone to make sure that I didn't miss the game. I think that was 2019.
Yeah, well, I missed those. Well, I missed one of them because of night shift, but the others I missed because I was coaching those particular days. So let that be an omen that we're 3-1 in those 4 games that I missed. Yep. All right, let's do it. I've got to go to bed. It's 10 o'clock in the real world.
Yeah, we've had a good long chat.
I
don't envy the editing job that you've got on this one.
No, it'll be all right. I'll just I'll just edit out 5 minutes of me talking about the wrong player like I did last week.
All right, mate.
All right.
It was good chatting to you again, and I'll talk to you again in a couple of
Yeah.
days when we got a bit more info about the upcoming game.
Yeah. Have a good one, and hopefully we get the team we want.
Yeah, hopefully that'd be nice.
No worries, mate. Have a good one.
You too. See you, mate.
See ya.
Bye.
So just a quick note to finish up here. We're going to hold over our talk about the club's recruiting from 2016 to 2022, just because it got a bit long, having all the discussion about the VFL game, selection, what we thought was going to happen, and then another hour and a bit talking about all the recruiting. So stay tuned, because that part 2 of this episode will be out during the week, probably Good Friday or so. And I think it gives us some good insight. And I also, for the Fitzroy fans, have a episode of The Club We Hold So Dear, my Fitzroy podcast, also coming out this week. I can't tell you which day, but I will post updates where possible. And that's about the great Hayden Bunton, 3-time Brownlow medalist, and great story about a great footballer who just did some amazing things at a very young age and continued to keep doing those amazing things. So stay tuned for that. Stay tuned for our chat about the club's recruiting. Hopefully Tuesday night we'll have some selection chat. And over the weekend we'll probably go early with a match review. If we win, it's going to be an emergency pod, as the boys in the Raw Deal like to say. And until then, go Lions.